Hello! Today I would like to talk to you a little bit about the second conditional. We will revise grammar structure and I will give you some example sentences. Let's begin. We use the second conditional for hypothetical and imaginary situations, meaning situations which are unlikely to happen. Let's see in this first example. If I won the lottery, I would buy a big house. Now, why is this hypothetical? In my case, I don't play the lottery, and this is why this is completely imaginary. If I won the lottery, meaning if I played the lottery, then I would buy a big house or I would travel. But because I don't play, now I'm just imagining this situation at the moment. Let me talk to you a little bit about the grammar structure. In this if part of the sentence, we use past simple, in this case, won. And in the second part of the sentence, we use a subject, I, in this case I. It can also be he, she, it, we, Susan, Mark. We also use would, you can see, or could, and bare infinitive. In this case, this is buy. Bare infinitive means that it's just a verb but without the preposition to. Let me now give you some more examples. If I had more free time, I would learn how to fly a helicopter. If I were an animal, I would be a bird. If I were you, I wouldn't worry. If he were here, he would help us. If they were nice to us, we would be nice to them as well. You might notice that instead of was, in these first three sentences that I'm showing you, I used were if I were an animal, but not if I was. And also, if he were here, why didn't I say if he was here? Let me explain why. So, when can we use if I was or if he was, which normally should happen because the verb to be in the past tense is was, as we know. Actually, we use this only in the past tense. I'm sorry if he was rude to you yesterday, for example, or last week at the party. Or if I was ever late at work, they would write me up. In this case, we can actually change, instead of if, we can use whenever. Whenever I was ever late at work, whenever I was late, they would write me up. But actually, in the second conditional, because these are hypothetical situations, almost impossible, we just want to emphasize that these situations are hypothetical, and then instead of I or instead of was, we use were. If he were king of the world, he would give everyone $1 million, but he isn't. He is not. And if I were a dog, I would get to laze around all day, but I'm not a dog, I'm a human. So this is totally impossible. I just want to emphasize that fact. This is why we use, instead of was, we use were in these situations. Now, let me continue giving you some more examples. How can we ask a question? What would you do if you were omnipotent? You can see that I actually put if in the middle of the sentence here. And if I do that, then in that case I don't need to use a comma to separate the two clauses. If you could talk to anyone living or dead, then we can use a comma. Who would it be? These are my answers. If I were omnipotent, I would choose to be omnipotent forever. Omnipotent means that you can just do whatever you want to do. Like God. God is omnipotent. If I could talk to anyone living or dead, I would talk to Nikola Tesla. I would ask him many, many things. Let me give you some more examples. If there were no clouds, we wouldn't enjoy the sun. If pigs had wings, they could fly. If my aunt were a man, she would be my uncle. If there were no bad people, there would be no good lawyers. It's very interesting what Charles Dickens said. If God didn't exist, it would be necessary to invent him. Interesting, we can talk about this. If all men knew what each said of the other, there would not be 4 friends in the world. I wonder if this was true. If God lived on earth, people would break his windows. Oh, again, very, very philosophical. Uh, Now you can maybe consider doing this for homework. Just complete these sentences for yourself. If I went to the moon, then I would. What would you do? If I could have one wish, what would you wish for? If I were famous, what would you do if you were famous? If I could see in the dark, possibilities are limitless. What would you do? Etc. Try and do this for homework. I would like to offer you a little, like a tiny extension of your homework, if you'll allow me. Um, for example, maybe we can talk about this. Which law do you disagree with? Think about that for a moment. And once you come up with the law that you disagree with, then answer these questions. Why would things be better without this law? And what would be different if this law didn't exist? And then you can answer it. If, and then this law, didn't exist, we could, or what would you do? What could we do? Furthermore, we have more questions. Which law would you like to implement? Now, why would things be better if we had this law? And what would be different? And then you can proceed, you can answer these questions for yourself. If this law existed, we would. If you decided to implement something new, then what would we be able to do? What could we do? And finally, who helps you the most at work? Just think about it for a moment and then answer the question. What would it be like if you didn't work with this person? If I didn't work with and then this person I would, what would happen? Would things be more difficult for you? Would they be more challenging? What would you miss about this person if you didn't work with them? Now, thank you very much for listening, and if you have any questions, please let me know and I will try and answer them all. Thank you very much for your attention. I'll see you soon. Bye.